Okay. All right. It's first time using a fancy mic like this. Can you guys all hear me? Yes. Okay, great. Happy to be here with you guys tonight. I'm excited to talk to you about this topic. It's very near and dear to my heart. If you asked me when I was a little kid what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would always say no to being a teacher, but here I am working in education. So funny how things change over time and where your path can lead you. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about tonight, kind of the impact on the young generation and just people in general who participate in environmental education and how it can impact ocean conservation. I'm going to grab my clicker so I don't have to get my steps in tonight. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a lot of different stories on what we've seen, what other people have seen in environmental education, and how it creates some sort of impact, small or big, on students who participate. So I figured I would start with my story and kind of share how I found my way down here to Key Largo. I was born and raised in Wisconsin. I went to school at University of Madison, and I decided by 21 winters was enough for me, and I needed to be in the warmth. I told my parents I was going to live very close to the ocean on a beach. I didn't care if it was in a shack, which eventually did happen. Actually, it wasn't a shack. If you know the castle on Largo Sound, I lived there for a year, so that was my shack. Yeah, that's a fun fact about me. But after college, or during college actually still, I ended up at SeaWorld, and that was because when I was younger, I went to SeaWorld for the first time on a family trip in Texas, and I saw the dolphin show. So classic dolphin show story inspiring me to be a marine biologist, but it really stuck with me, and I thought it was so amazing to see these animals doing all these really cool things. And just as a kid, I had not seen a big animal like that up close and personal, so it really impacted me so much that I wanted to go back and do that for someone else. So I was a SeaWorld summer intern teaching at the camp for a little while. And then I took a weekend and I drove down to Key West with a friend and snorkeled in Key West, and I got lucky, and it was a beautiful, dreamy day, the ones that we dream about down here. And I snorkeled with a turtle in the wild for the first time. And it was so cool, it just hung out with us, and that was the moment where I was like, this is what I want to do the rest of my life. I just want to snorkel with turtles. So then in college, the next summer, I interned in Australia working at a turtle nonprofit. So I actually did get to snorkel with turtles more, which was really cool. And eventually made my way back down to the Keys. I started at Sea Camp after college. That was my first job. And then made my way up here to MarineLab, and I've been there ever since for about 10 years. I started as an instructor, so mainly out on the water with the kids, snorkeling with turtles. And now, through various positions, I'm the director of operations, so more behind the scenes work, but it's really rewarding still because I get to see my impact on the work that I do on the students and the programs that they experience. So I'm excited to share with you more stories of things I've played a hand in the impact. So excited to get to that, but before we have to set the tone with Sylvia Earle. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with her. Far and away, the greatest threat to the ocean and thus to ourselves is ignorance, but we can do something about that. She goes on to say, knowing is the key to caring, and with caring, there is hope that people will be motivated to take positive actions. They might not care even if they know, but they can't care if they're unaware. And then to further set the tone, I have this video here that I'm going to hopefully pull up for you. Oh, nope. Sneak peek, don't look. We're going to get it. Nope. I need your help. See.
There we go.
He got it. Thank God for me. I don't know if the volume's working.
We tested this. Try turning off your mic real quick.
Okay.
Then I'm going to restart and try something. Thank you all for your patience. I'm so sorry.
Okay, we're back in action. Okay, so really cool video. Now we are ready to learn all about the things. Okay. I also just want to take a moment to shout out to all the educators in the room, whether you're a formal educator, informal educator, or you just tell people all the really cool things you know about the ocean occasionally, whatever kind of educator you are, what you do matters. You make an impact without even realizing it, probably. It's really hard to see the impact that you're making because sometimes it's not super obvious. And for people who spend their days speaking to large groups of people, you may not realize what you say and how much it impacts people. The dolphin trainer that was performing the show that I saw doesn't know exists, but they had an impact even though they didn't even realize that they sparked my passion for marine science. And because of that, I am here standing in front of you today telling you how great it is. So what you do really matters. Take some time to be proud of yourself and all the work and the effort that you put into what you do. To start, there is a study that was done to kind of narrow down this topic of how does outdoor education impact ocean conservation, because that's a big, beefy topic. That's a big thing to kind of tackle. And they reviewed 105 different studies with results in ocean conservation, and they kind of narrowed it down to 5 key ways. And we're going to narrow it down tonight even more from this, but you can see that there is a lot that goes into even just these ways that impact ocean conservation from environmental education. They also found there was similar characteristics in the environmental education programs in what they did and how they did it to be so successful, to have the greatest impact. So I'll share with you some ways at MarineLab that we incorporate some of this already and some of our successes as well, with eventually leading to, hopefully, ocean conservation impacts. If you haven't heard about MarineLab yet, we are here in Key Largo. If you know Jules Undersea Lab, that is where we are. We now run Jules Undersea Lab. We're right next door. Our education center is on a campus right next to it. And we take students out to the ocean snorkeling. We have hands-on labs and classes. And the groups that come to us are school groups from all over the state and out of the state as well. The majority are from the state, and we also take our local kids out on the boat to get to see their backyard. And we have a whole full functioning campus, dorm rooms, bunk beds, sometimes the students' favorite part, cafeteria, all the good things that they need. We have our fleet of boats as well. So they come to us, they stay with us, we teach them all the things there are to know, show them all the really cool things about the ocean. And something that has been incorporated into our programs within the last several years is our impact data collection program or component of our programs. And this was developed by Sarah Egner. She's our senior vice president. She is an education specialist, and she wanted to know what our impact was. She knew that we were having an impact, but she wanted data to support that. So I'll be sharing some of it tonight with you all, which I'm excited because it is somewhat new to us. So the numbers are exciting to us because we get to see the results of all of our actions. Nesky. Yep. Yeah. We go out there a lot when it's windy, too windy to go to the reef. Nesky. Yeah. Bayside out a ways is about 30-40 minutes from MarineLab. Yeah, beautiful out there. So narrowing it down a little bit more from what we've seen at MarineLab and from what we know that is out there in the universe that's been studied. The knowledge, attitudes, behavior, all of that changing from the opportunities in environmental education, connection being a really, really big one, key component. Getting kids interested and excited about science, and then hopefully encompassing all of that creates environmental stewards who care and want to protect the ocean. Starting with knowledge, probably the most obvious one that people know. You go to an environmental education center, you're going to learn something. And that's important. Like Sylvia said, if you don't know about it, you can't care. So that's an important one. Learning, understanding why it's important, and learning all the fun facts so that you can be excited about it. That's important. But something that comes along with environmental education is that sometimes it gets to those students who may not normally learn that same concept in a traditional classroom setting. I definitely fell in this category. Sometimes school, reading out of a textbook, listening to a PowerPoint presentation wasn't the way that I was able to learn different things. I remember the things that I learned on the field trip way more than the things that I learned in the classroom. So this resonates with me. I'm sure it resonates with you guys. I learned a lot more when I actually got out into the field after college about marine science than I did in college. But I did study in Wisconsin, so there's that. Some cool results that have kind of popped up from MarineLab and students who have come to us. I'll share with you a few stories. Leon said, I used to think science was kind of boring, but on this trip, I answered a bunch of questions on the boat and I actually knew stuff. I felt really proud. I learned how important the ocean is and how we have to keep it clean, not just for the fish, but for us too. Thank you for letting me go on this trip. It made me want to learn more about the ocean and maybe even study it when I'm older. Great, Leon. Another one, we have one student that struggles to focus in the classroom setting. He was so engaged and participated fully while being instructed on the boat trip out and again on the hands-on specimen lesson after snorkeling. It is beautiful to see a student shine in a new environment. So a great extra component that goes along with knowledge is that students are actually retaining this knowledge and information that they need to know in order to lead their way to ocean conservation maybe in their future, but it also contributes to what's called environmental literacy. And there's a lot that goes into this. It's not just knowing. Environmental literacy is attitudes, behavior change, connection, all of those things, the skills, the tool set needed in order to be an environmental steward. There's a lot that goes into it. We'll talk about a lot more of it tonight. But this is an important concept that is something that environmental education centers, their goal is to increase this in the students who visit them. So not just knowledge, while that's important, you can know something but not necessarily care about it. You could know all the fun facts that there are to know about lettuce sea slugs, but you may not care about the lettuce sea slugs. But something that we've seen from our time and experiences at MarineLab is that there are students who change their minds and change their attitude about the ocean, and 84% from our data, 2 years post MarineLab. So students who came to MarineLab answered our survey 2 years later, and 84% said that they love the ocean and that MarineLab helped them realize it. So seeing this attitude change is really awesome to know that our efforts are actually changing minds and helping people care about the ocean. And when you have students in front of you, it's not always about getting the concepts out and the definition of those concepts and getting all the knowledge out. When I started as an instructor, I was very young and we have a curriculum that we have to stick to, and it's very strict and there's a lot to tell the kids. So I was always stressing about telling them every fact that I needed to tell them, but over time I realized and I was taught that you have to take the time to focus on effective learning as well as cognitive. You have to stop and let them discover what it is that they're interested in or what it is that they're going to be curious about. So you have to let them have time to enjoy the environment around them. One of our really popular programs is mangrove ecology, where we go out into the mangroves and we just sit there and we teach them all the really cool things there is to know about mangroves and why they should care. But before we do that, on the way through the little creeks, we are taught by all the people who train the instructors. So I was taught, and now I'm teaching the instructors, to just stop talking to them and let them sit there and listen. Sometimes they're encouraged to make observations that we'll ask them about later. But we literally just stop talking and tell the kids to also stop talking and enjoy the piece. There's other reasons for that too, but mostly it's so that they can enjoy the environment around them. And then another thing during this trip that we do that is really impactful that the teachers always remind you to do if you forget to do it is the black mangrove leaf. Those mangroves specifically are salt secretors. That's how they've adapted to live in the salt water. So they bring the salt all the way up into the tree and they secrete the salt onto the leaf. So the leaf ends up being pretty salty. We'll pass the leaf around and they'll lick the salt and then they taste the salt. And then that connection in their brain is like, oh, the salt, that came from the ocean. That tree took that salt up and put it on the leaf. So they make that connection through tasting, not someone telling you that's how that happens. They make it by tasting the salt on the leaf. So taking time to do that, letting them enjoy. Of course, a boat full of fifth graders is going to love licking leaves, and they always ask if they can eat it, but we tell them not to. So those are important as well to hopefully create that attitude change and create that connection to the ocean, because connection is really strong. A personal connection, something that really resonated with the students, is what you want to send them home with. And those opportunities to just enjoy, whether it's sitting in the mangroves, snorkeling with a turtle, if that's mine, those are the ones those are the times that are going to get those students and change their attitudes and how they feel. 3 people who I definitely aspire to. They are great examples of making a connection to the ocean at a young age, and because of that connection, we're able to live a life full of passion towards ocean conservation and make global widespread impacts for our beautiful oceans that we have. Sylvia Earle, Rachel Carson, David Attenborough. Sylvia is known for, at a young age, she would spend time in her pond, in her backyard, with her notebook, collecting specimens, making notes and observations about them. Rachel Carson, fun fact, is 1 letter away from my maiden name, which I don't know if my parents knew that when they named me that, but I don't think they did. So she and I have a connection through our names, but she also was a major figure in ocean and environmental conservation. Her story is on her property at a young age. Her and her mom would walk around and identify all the plants and trees on their property. David Attenborough would spend time collecting fossils, taking them home with them to inspect closer. So that early time in their life spent outdoors, exploring, discovering, learning, really connected them to the ocean. And we all know what they've done since then, so that is powerful. That connection can really grow into something bigger. And part of that is what's called biophilia, and that is this innate sense that you love nature, that it feels good to be in nature. And something that's happening nowadays with societal changes, increases in technology, a lot of this sense of biophilia is decreasing. So people are spending less time outside, and so that love of nature, that love of the ocean is sort of dwindling. But there is something that can be done about it, since it is all within us. We were all born with it. It can be fostered or nurtured by an adult, a role model. And that's something that we really focus on at MarineLab in many places. I'm sure REEF does. Many environmental education centers focus on getting students to love the environment, the nature around them. A small win that I'll share with you from our data is that in 2025, we had 7,600 people visit us. So that's not a small win. That's not the small part. That's a lot of people that came to us in a year. So we're really excited about that. But of that number, we were able to find that 150 people loved the ocean more right after their trip to MarineLab. So while 150 doesn't seem like a lot, we will take it. We take our small wins. And this data was collected in a pre and post way. So right when they came to us, their first program, we took a survey of them, and then at the last program, we took a survey with them. And on average, the students stay with us for about 3 days. So in 3 days, 150 people, small win. And one of the stories, there's so many of these, it was hard to pick, but one of the stories that I wanted to share with you about kind of nurturing this love for the ocean and increasing that sense of biophilia is this one. Our autistic student, who your instructors and staff worked so brilliant with last year, absolutely blossomed through the rest of the school year and was able to come out himself due to so much from his experience at MarineLab. It was remarkable. By spring, he participated in a tri-scuba component we have in our ocean science class, and he actually scubaed in our pool. So really awesome story about growth inspired from his love of the ocean through his experience at MarineLab. We have a lot of stories like that, so it's really great when we actually get to hear of them because, like I said in the beginning, you don't always know what impact you're having. And sometimes the students may not love the ocean, and that's okay. They may not want to go in the water and snorkel, and that's okay. We try to encourage as much as we can, but there's always just that student that's just sitting there and they are adamant they're not going in. So that's okay. We have found that there's some other things that maybe they will connect with that does help foster a personal connection to the ocean without getting in the water. We'll bring water quality kits on the boat, ID sheets for birds or fish, so they can still somehow connect with the water without getting in. Maybe the student picks up a refractometer and they test the salt level in the water and they get really excited about that, and they pick up the next tool and they test the next thing, and they get really excited about chemistry and measuring water quality, and they later on become a chemist because they were super excited about using all the tools to test the water quality and understanding what's in the water. So you never know what it is going to be that a student connects with, and sometimes they find it all on their own without your help, which is super great to see. And sometimes you're not able to teach students directly physically in front of you, so you change your context to something that can connect with people even if they're not right there with you. So in 2020, as many of you probably did, we switched to virtual programming, and what came out of it was some really cool, engaging lessons that were able to reach people further away. I actually taught a student in Dubai once, which was a pretty crazy experience. I wanted to ask him all about Dubai more than I wanted to teach him marine science. But it's really awesome. Another way to reach someone, we have online resources too that we share for free for students who may not have the ability, or a teacher who wants to set up a virtual program or the ability to come to MarineLab. And then another hope too is that students take with them what they learned at MarineLab home. Maybe they show their little brother or sister. We have a lab where they shake rocks, and we tell them, go in your backyard, go to the stream, go to the local pond and flip a rock over and see what you can find. So we're always trying to encourage students to take with them what they learned at MarineLab. And the hope is that the connection that they make at MarineLab is strong enough that it eventually changes their behavior, because that is a key component. Because you can know things, you can care about things, but actually changing your behavior is very hard. I know this about myself because I know a lot of things I could be doing that would help the ocean, but actually getting into the habit of doing them and trying is very, very hard. So the fact that we do have some students who have learned and taken it home with them and now care and now try to do some of those things for the reefs in Florida Keys is really great to see. So 72%, 2 years after their time at MarineLab is where this data is from, have said that, yes, there are things I can do, and I try to do some of those things when I can. So that's great. Another thing that we try to do is increase their interest in science. A lot of times, I know I, as a kid, thought of science as sitting in the lab, mixing chemicals together and having big pink puffy clouds blow up out of the graduated cylinder. That's what I thought science was as a kid. But that's not it. Science is everywhere. It's almost in everything that you're doing. It's observing, being curious, asking questions. And we tell them that when they're doing that at MarineLab. You're doing science, look at you, you're a scientist. And when they answer a question just like a scientist would, good job, you're thinking just like a scientist. So we get them excited about science so that they understand that they've already been doing science in their life. And it actually is really fun and really interesting. So then they kind of make that connection that snorkeling and asking questions about what's that fish? Why is that snail doing that with that other snail? They know that was unintentional, but they know that that's science now because we pointed out to them. So then they're able to say, oh, okay, I've been doing science all the time. It's really fun. It's really interesting. And these are the results, which is great to see. So for this data over here is 2 years post MarineLab, but it was collected over a 2-year period. So it's data from 2 years. I don't know the exact number of how many people it is, but I want to say it's around 100. And that's 76% people saying that MarineLab helped me realize that I actually do love science because science is really cool and really interesting. And this is just from the year 2025 is when it was collected. So they came to MarineLab in 2023. Along with that is this idea of scientific identity. So students being able to recognize that, yeah, you are a scientist. Look at you. You're doing science. So increasing that, helping them understand that anyone can do science and anyone can be a scientist. That is incorporated into life at MarineLab and also our programs at MarineLab. So we really do try to put little bits in there to help them understand that, yeah, they are scientists. And we did get some results from that too. This is the pre and post data, so the one where we take a survey right at the beginning and right at the end, and 9% increase is what we got, which again, 9 isn't a very big number, but if you think about the over 7,000 people that come to us, we get 688 more scientists, and you just never know which one of those 688 people might become the next Sylvia Earle. You never know. So reaching as many people as you can, taking the small wins and impacts that you make is really important. And then the ways that we incorporate the scientific identity are, like I said, throughout life at MarineLab and also in our program. So if they answer a question and it's exactly what a scientist would say, we'll say, good job, you're thinking like a scientist. And as they walk to the cafeteria, there's a whole line of posters on the wall of different scientists from different backgrounds, ethnicities, and even abilities, so that they get to see the variety of scientists out there in our world, maybe make a connection or feel a similarity with that scientist, and they walk by it 3 times a day to the cafeteria. So that's another cool thing. Another one that Sarah Egner, our senior vice president, did is she put, this is what a scientist looks like on all the mirrors in the dorm rooms. So when they look in the mirror, they have that word above their head, which I thought was super awesome to do. So it is in their life at MarineLab. And this was a really cool story we got recently. That comes from that whole idea of increasing scientific identity. Perhaps a little silly, but my students have been quoting to each other all week that this is what a scientist looks like. And while they were being lighthearted, it was nice seeing them connect this work with actual science. So that story came from the University of Tulsa, who was at MarineLab for about a week, about a month ago. So this is what a scientist looks like. And this is what a scientist looks like. Scientists can be anyone. So we have some data to support that as well. Again, our 2-year midterm data post MarineLab, again over a 2-year period on the left, and then just in 2025 on the right. So we are showing that our efforts are proving results for us, that they are feeling like a scientist after their time at MarineLab. And then the hope is that this increased interest in science, the connection that you make, all of that bundled together maybe grows into your future, maybe it grows into a career. And we do see that a lot. There's a lot of people who have come to MarineLab as students who apply. We're hiring right now, and a lot of that, not a lot, but it's cool to see in the applications here and there, they mention that they were a student at MarineLab and they share their story. It's hard not to be biased towards those students when you're hiring, but it's really great to hear those stories nonetheless. And in my time, the past 10 years, 4 of those previous students have become instructors. And one of them is Lucy. She works with us right now. She's our intern coordinator and an instructor. And she's all around a great human, a great educator, so good at connecting with the students. I'm so excited for her journey. I wanted to share with you her story. In 2021, I visited MarineLab as a student with my university, Nova Southeastern. My experience impacted me in a way that has shaped the trajectory of my life. Pursuing a career in the environment was something I knew I was being called to do. I have completely fallen in love with environmental education. Helping students connect to their natural world is quite a special thing. I have recently been accepted into the University of South Florida as a prospective graduate student, where I will be studying conservation in mangrove communities. Inspired by my students and developing a strong framework in mangrove ecology during my time at MarineLab, I was able to develop the foundation for research I hope to study. I am forever grateful for the impact environmental education has had on my life. So super great that she's going to take her career one step further beyond education, but actually putting her knowledge and her passion to work and directly impacting the mangrove communities. We all know how important mangroves are, so it's great to have people like Lucy who are going to take her skill set and contribute to our lovely mangroves. So then the hope is that all the impacts that you've made on increasing knowledge, changing attitudes and behaviors, getting people excited about science, gives the whole package for empowering environmental stewardship. And something that environmental education does beyond everything that we just talked about is sort of give students the tools and the skills that they need to be those stewards, because it takes a lot to change and influence others to change as well. Another small win, 150 more students decided they will sometimes do more to help Mother Nature if it's not too much of a hassle. And that's how it's worded. That's how we say it to the students too. And so they kind of resonate with that because they're kids. One story from Jeffrey about his time at MarineLab. I learned so much about the ocean and why we need to take care of it. I didn't know that plastic could hurt turtles and fish. Now I try to use less plastic at lunch and tell my friends too. Also, the macaroni and cheese was so good. Probably the best I ever had. Gotta have fuel, big brain energy for ocean conservation. But another key thing in empowering environmental stewardship is confidence. You have to be confident, and it has to come from within in order to make that change, in order to make it within yourself, but also inspire others to change as well and to care. So I'm sure all of you know and maybe have had past experiences as kids, but environmental education, snorkeling in the ocean definitely gives you some self-confidence and opportunities to overcome fears that you had. Or maybe it's just going on a field trip for 2 nights away from mom and dad and able to conquer that gives you confidence moving forward in your life. That's a big deal to a 5th grader. I cried my way out of my first summer camp that my parents signed me up for. So big deal to be away from home. But also we see it so much. Terrified to go in the water. I'm sure you guys have seen it. And it's great to see them overcome those fears, and hopefully they carry with them that pride that they feel afterwards from doing it anyways, even though they were scared, into their future. And then a more obvious way of kind of building up that environmental stewardship is allowing them to participate in citizen science. And as you guys know here at REEF, if you're familiar and actively participate with REEF, you probably know pretty much everything there is to know about citizen science, but we have some programs that we offer up to our students as well. And that way they get to actually behave and go through the motions of doing science in a really obvious way. One of the really good examples is our seagrass survey program, where the students learn all their things that there is to know about seagrass, and then they take quadrats, big squares, and a transect, a giant measuring tape, out into the water, and they have to analyze the seagrass in that quadrat. They have to snorkel horizontally out in the waves, hold a data sheet on a clipboard and a pencil without losing it, and look at the seagrass and analyze the percent coverage of seagrass, measure the height of the seagrass blades, identify the species of the seagrass, and write it down on the clipboard the whole time. So they get to experience the challenges that come with trying to do all of that at once. And then they get the results, which is a whole data sheet full of data that they submit to an online database that scientists actually use to reference. It's through a program called Seagrass Watch based in Australia. So we actually have the students put their data in the database so they know that they've contributed to some scientist's work or some resource manager who has to make decisions about seagrass beds. And that collaboration is one of those components to include to make your impacts stronger, so that students know that they have worked with scientists or in a small way connected with that scientist, even if they're all across the world in Australia. To recap and mention again, the first point being the things from that study to contribute to your impacts that you're making and making them super strong. But your impacts are successful if they're done with purpose. So another thing to think about is inclusion and accommodation. So we try to reach as many students as we can at MarineLab, and one of those ways is through a really successful scholarship program that's really taken off over the last couple of years. Our CEO, Jeanette, and our Senior Vice President, Sarah, have worked really hard to get enough donations to support bringing students who wouldn't normally have the opportunity to come to MarineLab or have an experience like MarineLab provides. So that's a really awesome way that we've brought more students to MarineLab. It's for our local students as well. We have grant programs that brings every 5th grade and 7th grade student in the Upper Keys to go on the seagrass and mangrove field trip in 5th grade and to the reef in 7th grade. So really cool programs to get more people out in the ocean to do all the things that we just talked about. And accommodation is important too. We really try to accommodate as much as we can and accommodate anyone with mental, physical disabilities. For a while, we had a group come down from Alabama, and it was students who were deaf or hard of hearing. And that experience for them was amazing, but it was also amazing for us to see those students experience the ocean. And we do whatever we can. We created a video that kind of outlines the steps of what a boat trip at MarineLab is like, because we consulted with an expert in autism, and she said that it's really helpful for students with autism to see what is going to happen before it happens, so they can kind of prepare for it and see like, okay, you're going to have to step up to get on the boat. The boat trip's going to be a little wavy. That's what this looks like. So it can help them in that way. Or students who have anxiety about their trip, which I'm sure is very many. And then measuring your impact. I shared with you the data that we collected. It's great to see the numbers because we all know that we make an impact, but how much of an impact do we make? And then there's a third type of impact data that we collect, and it's stories. It's qualitative data, not quantitative, which is just as important and can tell you just as much. I filled the slide with them. I won't stand here and read them to you all, don't worry. But I would love to. There was a long list of so many that I could have put up here. But so many great stories have come from reaching out and asking people what impact MarineLab has had on their life or their students that they brought to MarineLab. And reading these gives us that yes moment. It makes me feel like the student in the picture, that you finally get to hear what all that hard work that you do every day does. And then to come full circle, Sylvia says the best scientists and explorers have the attributes of kids. They ask questions and have a sense of wonder. They have curiosity. And in true MarineLab fashion, we always incorporate something you can do. And we try to make it something that students can go home right away and tell their parents that they want to do, because we're very real with them about the threats to the ocean, and sometimes that can be a little bit sad. So then we try to build them back up with things that they themselves can do for the ocean, for the reefs, for any part of the environment that they really care about. So something I encourage you to do, even though I think I'm speaking to the choir when I talk to this crowd, is to get involved. There's so many organizations down here that do such wonderful work. This is only some of them, the ones that came to mind right away. But they can all use your help, whether it's time or resources. Try to add a little bit to your life to give back to our wonderful backyard ocean that we are so lucky to have, because we don't need one person doing a lot. We need a lot of people doing a little bit. Thank you.
Does she need to turn hers off? Questions. Wow, that was great, Rachel. I feel like this was very topical for us celebrating our 1 year of our Ocean Exploration Center and the education work that we do in this building with what you're able to do outdoors. And yeah, I saw so many connections and confirmations and encouragements from what you said. Questions, Fred?
Do you find that the responses you get from your various surveys varies by the age group of the kids?
And you're talking about the data that I was showing you? Honestly, I'm not entirely sure, because our surveys that we take of the students are it's very straightforward. We ask them a question, they give us a response. So I'm not entirely sure. And all this data is so new to us. We're still learning kind of the ins and outs of collecting this data. So there's definitely been some trials and tribulations. There's probably some bias in there, especially with the short-term data. The way that we collect it is kind of like a heads-up, 7-up game in class, so they can peek and kind of look at their friends and see what their friends are saying. So I'm not sure if that entirely answered your question or not, but info about the data collection.
Fancy. So a quick question, because I used to do a lot of environmental education back at UGA and 4-H, so I'm very familiar with survey stuff. Question is, are you following up with your teachers that have been coming for multiple years if their test scores are increasing? Because I know that's a big thing with, school systems, and they're not seeing an increase in test scores. They're not allowing students to go in, for go away trips and stuff.
Interesting that you asked that. We don't specifically ask that, but I'm definitely going to pass that along, because I know how important those test scores have become since I was in school. But I actually, for this, I was reading a study on how students who participated in a local environmental education opportunity actually did do better on their standardized testing. It was very specific to that local area, but there was results showing that they did increase their test scores in all subjects, not just science. So, great question.
So I have two questions. One, have you changed anything you're doing as a result of these survey results? And two, what rhyme do you use for the 3 kinds of mangroves?
I want to answer the second one first. Have we changed anything that we do from these results? Nothing comes to mind right off the top of my head because this is within the last couple of years. If Sarah was standing here, she'd probably have a very long list of things that she's changed because she's the one that spearheads the data collection. We've changed how we collect the data many times, but as far as in our programs, I'm the one that deals with all the changes, so to sort out which ones we do because of the data would be very hard because we change things almost every day, which is very hard to keep up with. But great question. The rhyme, red, red, pointy head, black, black, salty back, and the white one is white, white, sweet delight, or bolts on tight. White, white, sweet delight. So on the white mangrove leaf, there's nectaries they secrete sugar, which attracts ants, and it's actually a mutualistic relationship between the ant and the mangrove tree. So that's where that one came from, white, white, sweet delight. Big question.
I know you work with seasonal instructors, early career marine professionals, biology. And we have a couple of people here. If you have any advice, maybe for yourself when you were younger, like embarking on this professional career, a word of wisdom that you might share with us on that side. A minute.
Okay. It's tough out there. Don't give up. It was tough when I was trying to get in the field. Take any opportunity that you can to get more experience. Be like the yes man, yes woman. Like, do you want to go out and do this today? Yes, I do want to go do that. So get any experience that you can. That is what I hire people all the time, and if they can tell me that they've done something, and every time I ask them a question, have you done this? That's great. The more experience you have, the more skills you have, and the more confidence you have, and things that we look for when we're hiring people. But yeah, you got here, so you're doing something right.
This is the coveted Fish and Friends Certificate of Appreciation for you, Rachel, for being here. Thank you so much. Get it right here. Like, seriously, this is hanging on walls of, like, not on Sylvia's wall, I don't think, but not yet. Anyway, thank you so much, both here in the room and online, for being with us this evening. We hope you've learned something, become inspired, and I think gotten great encouragement for the work that we're all doing as part of this community to empower and encourage marine conservation. Have a wonderful evening. Come back next Tuesday for fish trivia. Come back Saturday for lionfish. We're right here all summer, every Tuesday, every Saturday, and during the week open as well. Thank you very much. Thank you.